When it comes to premium cars, the Germans, well, they rule the roost, don't they? And if you want a large saloon which leads the field in terms of quality, then the A8 has to be your ultimate ride. That's because Audi really has pulled out all the stops for this car. It's just so well made and everything is very, very well screwed together. In fact, I think the quality in here is just that little bit better than in its German rivals. And I also think the design is better too, but you know, don't take my word for it. I'll give you a moment now to just decide for yourself. Once again, Audi's stylists have created an interior which feels mature and contemporary all at the same time. It really is first class in here, with lovely little touches everywhere, such as the cool looking selector for the standard fit 8-speed automatic gearbox. Well then, what do you think of that? It's pretty nice, isn't it? And when you're looking around, you probably notice this feature here. It's a little pad and it lets you write letters directly into the sat-nav, so you don't have to use the swivel wheel. And even if you're pretty rubbish at writing with your left hand, as you can tell, it still recognises it. Now that system, that's standard on all A8s, so too is that lovely big screen and satellite navigation. You get things like electric leather seats. In fact, there's so much equipment on this car, way too much actually for me to mention. And as with every Audi, there's also loads of options, but one I particularly like is the Bang & Olufsen stereo, because not only does it sound fantastic, it has the best tweeters in the world. Do you know what? I think that's worth a £6 asking price alone. Most A8s come with Audi's excellent Quattro all-wheel drive system. Now it gives you plenty of reassuring grip for when you're hammering down a twisty back road, and it also means that you've got great traction for rapid acceleration. So if you pull up to some traffic lights and some oik in a hot hatch dares to challenge you, you can just dismiss him by going like a rocket ship, especially if you've got this 6.3 litre W12 model, because it can do 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 4.7 seconds. That said, all of the engines are pretty quick actually, even the entry-level 3 litre diesel. And if you go for that in one of the front-wheel drive cars, it'll return 47 miles per gallon. As you'd imagine, this car is very nice to drive. You've got double glazing on the window, so it's always supremely quiet in here. You can also set up the car's driving experience to suit your individual needs. And I've got the engine and gearbox in dynamic mode for a fast throttle response, and so the car holds onto its gears for longer. The steering is in automatic mode, so most of the time it's nice and light, but when you're going faster, it weights up. And the air suspension, well, of course, yes, I've got that in comfort mode, so it just wafts about. However, that does bring me onto this car's downsides, because while it is comfortable, it still doesn't glide over bumps in the road quite as well as a Mercedes S-Class does. And I think when the road gets twisted like it has here, it doesn't handle quite as good as a Jaguar XJ. And as for space in the back seats, well, to test that out, I've had to clone myself. So, map number 2, over to you. Sorry about that, I was just watching some old car bar reviews on the optional rear entertainment system. Actually very good, you know, you should check them out. Anyway, yes, space in the back. Well, you've probably gathered this is the long wheelbase version of the Audi A8, and I've got loads of room, plenty of mod cons as well. We've got electric seats and I've got my own climate control as well. And even a very tall person will be absolutely fine back here. However, if you go for the normal version, it is quite a bit smaller. And overall, I don't think room in the back is quite as generous as on a BMW 7 Series. The boot isn't exactly going to win the space race either. Okay, it's an alright size, but it just doesn't go quite as far back as you'd expect from a limousine. And finally, there's the looks, which are just a little too like the smaller A6 and the smaller still A4. However, some rich people actually want a limo that goes under the radar, and the A8 is definitely more stealthy than its competitors. It's also slightly cheaper to buy, despite the fact, like I said at the beginning, it actually feels more expensive.